next option we have, right? So apart from that, what is the next one? Next one is thread configurations, right? So what is thread configurations, right? So under test plan, if I go to add threads users, right, we have three different options. One is thread group, and another one is setup thread group, and tear down thread, right? So what is the purpose of these three different options is what we'll try to understand. Okay, so I'm just going back. Okay, so yeah, if we look at here, right, so we know what is a thread group. So thread group is thread group can create some set of simulate some set of users, or which is nothing but a threads, so that all those threads will go to the server and hit the server, right? But before testing, we may have to do something, and after testing we may have to do something else, and those two things can be achieved using these two elements called setup thread group and tear down thread, right? So but what is that we have to do before testing something and after testing something? So functionally, right, so functionally when we test an application, what did we do, right? So we'll try to open a browser or connect to the database, or do some some prerequisites, right? So before testing we are going to do some set of actions, and after testing, okay, we'll close the browser and we'll close the database connection and we'll do some cleanup, right? In the same way, in Jmeter also, we can do some set of actions before testing and some other set of actions after testing, right? But where did actual testing happens? Actual testing happens in thread group, right? So that's the reason we can see here, right? So when we right click on the test plan, go to add thread group, threads, we have three different options. One is setup thread group, and thread group will be executed, and tear down thread group will be executed, right? So this is the flow how it is going to happen, right? So first of all, let's try to understand what is going to happen in setup thread group, right? So we already have a thread group, right? So let me go to thread group. See, we have a thread group, and in this thread group we are mentioning that total number of threads is 1 and loop count is 1 and ramp up is 1, something like that. So we have given some default or some set of customized parameters here. That means this is a thread group. Okay, that thread group contains only one thread. That means only one user is hitting the server as of now. One user is requesting our application. Okay, yeah, I will explain the other parameters in some time. Yeah, but just understand that group contains some set of threads, some set of users. So before testing we may have to do something, and after testing we may have to do something else. So what is that before testing we have to do is nothing but setup thread group, right? So in general, right, in general, what is that we are going to do as part of setup thread group, right? As part of setup thread group, right? So I'm just giving some simple some use cases, like, okay, let's say before creating or before running some scripts, I may have to prepare a test data, right? At runtime I may have to run some scripts to generate some random email IDs, okay, or to generate some random mobile numbers or random test data for user creation or something like that. So I can do that before starting thread group also, or while I'm creating or while I'm hitting the request to the server, at that point of time also I can create a test data, right? So this is one of the example, right? And next example is, let's say I have a static set of test data in an CSV, so or Excel. Yes, I can read the data from CSV and store it in Jmeter variables and pass the test data to our test cases, our test requests, right? That is one more use case. Or the other use case is like, okay, before starting the performance test execution, I may have to send an email notification, right? Just to notify the people that the tests are going to start. the tests are started executing. Okay, performance tests started executing, right? That we can do it with the help of setup thread group, right? So how does this looks like, right? So we can see in the diagram top right corner. So setup thread group will be something like this, right? So where it has the name of the group. So by default it is setup thread group only. That's fine. If you want, we can write the comments, or else we can ignore. And here we have an action. What is the action, right? So as part of before testing, what has to happen? Action to be taken after a sampler error. So let's say while running this setup thread group, let's say some error happened, some request failed. At that point of time, whether we need to continue or stop the thread or stop that particular request, okay, or stop the complete loop. So there are different options. We have to decide what has to be done at that point of time. Okay, so even this also acts like a thread group only, right? Like however thread group contains number of threads or users, ramp up time and loop count and so on, even this has the same. Okay, so let's practically try to create one thread group. Okay, so I'm just going back. So what I will do is under my test plan, I'll create one setup thread group. So add threads and setup thread group. So I have created one. So as part of this setup thread group, okay, what I will do is I'll add one. Okay, so I'll just add one bean shell script. Okay, yeah, I'm just writing some bean shell sampler. So what I'm going to do is I will just, so bean shell sampler is just a kind of request. Okay, so whatever the code I write in this, that will be executed. For now, I don't write any logic. I'll just try to print some log. Okay, log.info. Setup thread group. Okay, so as I was mentioning, the purpose of this setup thread group will be different, right? So creating a list of users, or send an email notification and read the data and so on. But as of now, we cannot do this because we are still at early stages. Okay, let's try to go step by step. So for now, to be, it's very simple. Okay, I'm just writing some log message. That's it. Okay, so I'm just saving. Okay, so what did I do is, so before running my thread groups, okay, so let me disable thread group 2. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just drag and put it over here. So before thread group, it has to run setup thread group, and the thread group will be executed. And after thread group, I have to do something else. But what are those